And we are a go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking the time. I know with coronavirus, it's nice to have everybody on WebEx. It's good to see everybody's face. Obviously, this situation that we're going to discuss happened before coronavirus, so we weren't able to actually have an in-person meeting. Unfortunately, we have the case of the computer crash here. Um, Jessica, our dear Jessica, the student, had a situation in Mr. Barnhart's web development class where she went to, as Mr. B was out of the classroom, she went into the back storage room, um, climbed on a couple of boxes to get a new mouse for her computer, and unfortunately, while standing on the boxes, she fell um, and cracked her head open and had 14 stitches. Um, and obviously, Jessica's dad here is not happy. He's self-employed and doesn't have medical insurance. So what he did is he wrote a letter to Mr. Barnhart asking for him to pay $1,000 in medical costs uh, and threatened to sue for damages to poor Miss Jessica. So today I thought we could talk about what we think Mr. Barnhart's liability is and address some other things. Um, I guess now I'd just like to let the group, kind of take it from here.
Well, sounds good. And Principal Jewell, thank you for being here to represent this case. Just a quick question: did Mr. Barnhart respond properly and in a timely fashion to the injury, in your opinion?
Yes, I do believe so. We talked with a few students, and they had said that once they heard Jessica crash down, that they immediately went outside to get Mr. Barnhart, in which he then called the proper people based on protocol to come, look at the situation and get all the medical staff and medical trainers that were available, and then called 911 to have them properly evaluated.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I like those board meetings where we get to approve teacher contracts way more than we get to talk about student injuries. And while it's very sad that this happened, I guess I want to make sure that, to your knowledge, did Mr. B, like, in any way instruct or invite the student to go back into that back room and get anything, or has instructed students before to do that, or any type of action that would put students in danger in the past or up to this point?
Mr. Barnhart did not instruct the student to do that. He was outside of the classroom and unfortunately did not know what was happening in the back room at that time.
Is that an area that students normally go into, to your knowledge?
Not typically. It is an open area, so I think that is something that does need to be addressed, whether there should be a locked door put up so that students are not able to access that.
Thank you.
Yep.
So just following up on that, even though it is an open access area, is that typically an area that students are authorized to go in or go in there frequently, or is that generally not the common thing to do?
That is not the common thing to do. Typically, people are not back there very often.
Okay, so is there also any kind of school policy on whether or not the students should be leaving their seats for any reason, or was Mr. Barnhart away for a long extended period of time where the student wasn't able to access him?
He was not away for very long, and so yeah, there really wasn't a set time frame on that. And in terms of school policy, there's not something specifically written in there about that, but we will take another look at that and get back with the rest of the board on that.
Hi there, board member Austin here. Do we know the reason why Mr. Barnhart had to leave the room? Was it an emergency to deal with the other student?
Yes, it was. The other student did have what they would call an emergency on that, and did need to speak with them privately. So that is what he did.
All right. I think we touched on majority of what we consider be Mr. Barnhart's liability? All great questions. Obviously, if you think of some in the future, let us know. We're an open book here, just trying to figure out what his liability is and how we move forward with this.